So everybody knows we will be recording the session. I will make it available on YouTube, and I'll send out a link at a later date, sometime this week. All right, first screen that you should be looking at. I wanted to bring this up quickly um, for the returning officials. We do have a rate increase this year, so we do have some new rates for all of our new officials that are online. This is kind of a snapshot of our rates. We'll try to get this a hard copy to everybody that's on the line so that you can have it and you'll know what you're making for money. So quickly, it's top couple levels. The only official we have in our group that does that level would be David Gallagher, who does both AUS and ACAA. Prep school are games strictly within St. John area, I believe, and I guess Moncton has a team as well. Those are prep schools, Ross Netherwood, and there's a 506 team out of Moncton that's playing the prep school schedule. They play teams from across the country, and that's why their rates are a little bit higher. Adult basketball is at $51. High school, which includes varsity or junior varsity, is at 46. Middle school's at 35. Wheelchair basketball, if you get the opportunity to do it, it's 46. I don't know if we've ever had any in our zone. U11, which is mini, is $30 per official this year. U12, 13, and 14, which basically encompasses Bantam and middle school, is at $35 a game. U15 and 16, which would be midget, are at $46 a game. U17, U18, which are juvenile, would be $46 a game. The per diem rates, should you be required to officiate over an entire day, you get $10 for breakfast, 15 for lunch, 20 for supper. Travel rate is based on the regulated gas price as published by the provincial government. We set the rate at the first of the month, so whatever the gas pump price will be on the 1st of November will dictate what we charge for the month of November. I expect it will be in the mid range there, $1.50 to $1.99, which means you get 45 cents a kilometer. Travel works as such that both two officials are assigned to a game. Wherever possible, the officials are to travel together. We only want one travel per game. So I try to determine ahead of time who will do the driving, but sometimes I may have to reach out and ask who drove the car. For instance, if Dirk Bishop and Dave Gallagher hop in the car and go to John Caldwell to work a game in Grand Falls, I don't always know which one of them is going to drive. So I may reach out and get that straight. So that's in a nutshell, is the fees. Next step, and I do this every year, is the code of conduct. We do have a code of conduct, and it's imperative that we reach out and provide it to you guys at the start of the season. We expect you to abide by it. It is the responsibility of an official to maintain the highest standards of honesty and integrity. That should go without saying. Number 2, make decisions without deference to team, score, spectators, or home facility. In other words, you shouldn't be influenced by any of those when you're making decisions on the court. Number 3, maintain consistency while interpreting and enforcing the rules of basketball. The easiest way for me to put that is what you call a play a certain way on one end of the court, you should be calling that same play the same way on the other end of the court. So that's the consistency in it. 4, exhibit concern for player welfare by correcting situations which involve actions detrimental to the welfare of all participants. That could be stuff as easy as a wet spot on the floor. You need to stop and clean it up. Could be it could be just about anything that could impact player welfare. So correct it immediately. Maintain a friendly and communicative attitude toward players, coaches, and spectators on and off the court. Sometimes that's not easy depending on the atmosphere you're in, but do the best you can do. Maintain a sense of composure at all times, goes hand in hand with the one above it. Always wear the proper uniform and be neatly and appropriately attired on and off the court. Proper uniform is striped shirt, black and white stripes, black pants, black socks, and black sneakers. Number 8, consistently strive to improve one's own ability through regular attendance at rules clinics. I'm not going to preach at you on that one because you're here. Number 9, honor all obligations and commitments. In other words, if you have accepted games that I've assigned in particular, I expect you to do those unless there is some emergency that comes up that's unforeseeable. Just don't not show up. That's not good for anybody. Number 10, be fully prepared both physically and mentally for each game. That one's important. You need to be ready to go when you arrive at the gym. Number 11, promote sport at all time. Number 12, treat other officials with professional dignity and courtesy and refrain from criticizing other officials. If you have another official that you're working with that you're not comfortable with something that they're doing, have that discussion with them personally, privately, work it out. But don't be walking down the street criticizing your fellow officials. Refrain from the use of alcohol and misuse of drugs on the day of the game prior to the game. Avoid inappropriate physical contact with players, coaches, or spectators. Quite frankly, you should never have any physical contact with players, coaches, or spectators unless you had to physically defend yourself. So just avoid all contact at all costs. 15, be in the facility only for the purpose of officiating the game or other legitimate activity. Number 16, report any unethical behavior by a member to a member of the board of directors. If you don't know who the members of the board of directors are, I will provide you with a website. That's our provincial website. It has all that information on it. Local in our zone, Dirk Bishop as the zone rep, as our zone rep, is the on the board of directors, as am I, as the secretary treasurer of the provincial association. So that's in a nutshell the code of conduct. Any questions? No hands. Good. All right, tonight we're going to talk. The rest of the night is going to be based on the FIBA referees manual with the individual officiating techniques, which are known as the acronym is IOT. I sent this out by email as a PDF file that I think everybody should be able to open and read. I'm going to give you the highlights of this manual. If you have further questions, I would strongly suggest that you read it and dig into it and read it all. A lot of good information in it, and I think you'll find it a big help as you're either returning to officiating or starting out your journey. So first off, 1.1 basketball officiating broken down simply is anticipate what will happen, understand what is happening, and react properly for what has happened. So that requires an active mindset to anticipate what will happen. It understands a thorough knowledge of the basketball rules to understand what is happening on the court. And you need some mental image training to react properly for what has happened. There are times where you have to run through things in your head, replay things in your head, and you got to do it quickly and on the run usually to determine what exactly has happened and what's the right way to react. FIBA's image of an elite basketball player. FIBA has one golden rule when it comes to prioritizing for referee training for FIBA games, and that's game control. Game control is ensuring a smooth running and dynamic game where players are able to showcase their basketball skills. This is the image FIBA is looking for. The 2 or 3 appointed referees are the ones who are responsible for this game control. So it's your job as an official when you go out there in the court, your job is to control the game, ensure that nobody gains an advantage by breaking or violating one of the rules. And you got to do it very low key and quiet. I mean, you're there to make sure the game stays in control. Quite frankly, if you stop and think about it, I don't know anybody that has paid full price admission to any basketball game I've ever been at where they were coming to see the referee. They're coming to see the players play the game. So let the players play the game. Make sure that nobody gains any advantages by violations of the rules or through unnecessary contact. You do that, and you've got a big step ahead on your road to refereeing. So within the IoTs, there are 13 basic ones, and they're all listed there. We're going to kind of touch on each one of them. I'll give you kind of the 64,000 foot view of it. Further detail is provided in what I circulated to you earlier today. So distance and stationary. The target within this officiating technique is to identify and understand the key points and impact of maintaining a proper distance from the play and being stationary when refereeing competitive matchups. If a referee has the proper distance from the play, which would be about 3 to 6 meters, which I guess would be about 10 to 18 feet, possibility of an emotional reaction called decreases. He can maintain a perspective as movements look slower. He can maintain a wide angle, which increases the possibility of seeing more players in the field of vision. He is able to see the big picture, next plays to follow, control the clocks, identify where your partner is. If a referee is stationary when he is making a judgment, his eyes are not bouncing and concentration increases, and a correct decision is more likely due to being focused and concentrated. So in that middle piece, if you are 10 to 18 feet from the play, you're not right on top of the play, so you're not going to be as emotional about it because you are a little bit further away. You're going to be able to the movements as they occur should appear a little slower. Like anytime that you're right up close and face to something, like if you're within 2 feet of that play, everything's going to look like it's happening at 100 miles an hour. If you back off to 10 to 15 feet back, everything seems to slow down. And in most gyms, you will have the room that you can get back off an end line. For instance, if you're the lead official underneath the basket, you can step off the baseline. I've stepped as far off as like almost 10 feet off the baseline if it is crowded, particularly with larger players, because if you're right up to the baseline, you can't see anything. You're just going to get blocked out. But by backing off, you get a better look. The third point means you get a wider angle. So the further back you step, the wider and further out you can see. You can see more players. You can see your partner in the background. You kind of get an idea what's going on. The same with the last bullet point, which is you're able to see the bigger picture. You can also probably capture their clock in most gyms. And like I said, you can identify where your partner is. If you are stationary when you're making your call, your eyes aren't bouncing. That's a very good point. And your concentration will increase. And that correct decision is going to be more likely if you are focused and concentrated than if you're running to get to the spot and your head's going up and down and you can't really see that well what's going on. You're not going to make as good a call. Number 2 is refereeing the defense. So the target is to identify the primary focus when analyzing a one-on-one play. The concept of refereeing the defense is one of the cornerstones for accurate basketball refereeing. Essentially, it means that the priority of the referee in an on-ball competitive matchup is to focus the attention on the illegality of the defensive player whilst keeping the offensive ball handler in your field of vision. The referee is required to get into a position that allows them to clearly see the defensive player. So if you're on the court and you're looking out through and you're looking through the defensive player and the offensive player is kind of in a straight line between you and the defender, then you cannot see what that defender is doing with his hands. So at that point, you need to move. You need to move either to the left or to the right, 2 or 3 steps, so that you can see the space between the defender and the offensive player. And then you watch the defender to make sure he's not using his hands to impede the progress of the offensive ball player illegally. He can defend. He can try to steal a ball. He can't grab. He can't hack. He can't do that stuff. And that's the illegality items that you're looking for. So you need to move to get in position to see the difference in the space between the defender and the offensive player. It does say next line, the note is we're not refereeing that space between the players, we're refereeing the defense itself. But you need to have a position where you can see the space between the players in order to referee the defense. So you're not refereeing that space, but you need to see the space so that you can see what the defenders clearly see what the defender's doing. When refereeing on ball, focus your attention on the illegality of the defensive player. In other words, you're watching the defensive player for anything illegal he may be doing while trying to prevent the offensive player from scoring. So that's quite a mouthful, that one. Any questions? Any concerns? Good crowd. Next bullet point, stay with the play. It's crucial for the official to stay with every play until it finishes. You got to be there at the start of the play. You got to follow the play all the way through, and you got to officiate clear to the end of the play. Now, what do I mean by when I mean stay with the play to the end? It means that you need to be mentally focused on the defender until the plays come to an end. So when it comes to an end, when a shooter has landed, or when an offensive player is penetrating to the hoop, the defender has jumped to defend, it ends when the defender has landed. So physically, you got to be careful when you start to move. If you are the trail official and you step backwards once a shot has left the shooter's hand, if you step backwards, you have the potential to mentally release the play before the ball has entered the basket or the defensive team has gained control of the rebound. So what you need to do, you need to either stop and hold there on the shot, follow the shooter till he lands, then your head should go to the basket where you pick up any rebounding action that is coming from up top down towards the hoop, and you follow and you stay there until such time as the defensive team gains the rebound and is ready to start back down the floor, at which time you leave and go. Positioning, open angle, 45 degrees and adjustments. Target, to understand the impact and technique of maximizing the number of the players within your field of vision at all times. So the principles for positioning and open angles are you need to move to the right spot and establish an open angle. So when we say an open angle, you should have your shoulders open to the play that you're administering. And when I say open to it, I don't mean that you're straight line through your shoulders to the play. Your shoulders should be turned around square and be more perpendicular or slightly turned to the 45-degree angle, either right or left. Okay. That gives you the ability to move. It also gives you the ability to turn as well as quickly and to quickly follow it. Anticipate where you need to be, and that means you should be mentally one step ahead of the play. So sometimes you have to anticipate. Every once in a while you get caught, you anticipate wrong, but the more games that you work, the better your anticipation will get, and the better you'll get at that. Adjust to the play to maintain the open angle. So, like I said before, if you get an open angle to the play, and you can step. If you have to step to the left, if the play moves to the left, and you have to step to the left to maintain your open look at it, then do so. If it goes back the other way, you have to step back the other way. Always move with a purpose. Know where you need to go and why. Go where you need to be in the position to referee the play. Okay, so if that means that you go down a little deeper, if you're the trail, and normally you don't like to go down much past the top of the key, sometimes you have to go as deep as the free throw line extended, or maybe even a little lower. But if you need to be there to referee a one-on-one match in your sector right there, then you need to go there. Okay, you need to move down and get that spot so you can referee that play. If you get an initial position and it is correct, there's less need to move. Okay, so you don't move just to move. You move when you need to move to maintain your position. So don't be static, but don't be just out there moving to move, right? Because that's just a waste of time and energy, and quite frankly, it can be distracting on your concentration on the play that's going on. So, if you got good position, hold it, but move to keep that position. Don't move just to move. Okay. Pre-game conference and use of FIBA IREF pre-game app. Target is to know the topics that have to be covered during the pre-game conference and what functionalities are offered by the app. So I think for all the new people that were at the session on the weekend, this is one of the things that we covered in our classroom session. The FIBA organization has had an app built for them, have a couple of them. One of them is more a repository for rules and notices and updates. The second one is their pregame app, and it is a great app. It has it allows you to look at a court, and you can put referees in it. You can put one team or two teams or both teams. You can move players around. You can move the ball around. You can set up plays on the court while you're sitting in the dressing room and talk about who needs to cover what and what areas are who's got what primary areas of responsibility. What kind of switches are you going to make? When are you going to make those switches, etc. And it is a fantastic tool. You can carry it on your you have it on your phone. So, I mean, most of us always have phones with us at all times. So it's a really good tool to have and use in your pregame meetings. And for the new people, your pregame conference is something you should do every game. Actually, not just for the new ones. This is for the older returning officials because it's something that, quite frankly, in our zone, we probably don't do a really good job at, but it's one that we probably should start. We should be sitting down and talking prior to the game on well, let's go through the bullet points. You need in the pre-games, you need to know and discuss your areas of responsibility on the floor and avoid having both of you watch the ball and the players immediately surrounding it. This is the first bullet point for a reason, and that reason is the last part of that is to avoid both referees watching the ball and the players immediately surrounding it, which is a very bad habit that officials can get in. And I know I'm as guilty of it as the next guy. Sometimes when I get tired and I'm get lazy out there in the court, my eyes and head will follow the ball no matter where it goes, even if it goes completely out of any area that I should be covering. I'll still follow it. And guess what? If I'm following the ball outside of my primary area of responsibility, something's going on in my primary area that I'm not catching because I'm not looking there. So it's very important that you talk about that and you talk about it prior to the game and say, okay, look, get your little cord out there and say, when the ball swings down here, I've got it. When it crosses here out back to the top, I'm going to release it. And you've got the ball. I'm going to switch my attention to underneath the basket and so on. But if you talk about that before the game, the tendency will be that you'll carry that with you out on the court. Okay. Referee the play away from the ball when it's your primary responsibility. This goes hand in hand with the first bullet point. So if I'm the trail official and the ball is way down in the opposite corner, deep down on the baseline, that's my partner's area. The ball where it is his primary area. So what I need to be watching is I need to be watching the players at the top and anybody that's in the key, because my partner's looking away from that restricted area. He doesn't know what's going on there. So the trail needs to make sure that he's watching all of that play off of the court, or sorry, away from the ball. When his partner is watching the ball, he's got to make sure he referees away from the ball. And that's another one that you need to talk about prior to the game so that you're reminded of it and you're prepared to do it when the game starts. Anytime you have a double call, so establish eye contact with your partner before proceeding with your signal. Okay, so in other words, both whistles go and you're both got a call in the same area. First thing you need to do, and this is going to come up all through these, is to make sure that you keep eye contact with your partner. Give your partner a quick look just to make sure you guys are on the same page. Then you need to remember that the referee that's nearest to the play or the referee that the play is moving towards should have primary responsibility to make the call. So, for example, if I'm the trail and I've got a player that's going down through the key and he contacts the defender and both whistles go, whatever, I need to look, I need to see my partner, make sure he's got a call. If he's got a call, I'm gonna give way to him. I'm gonna let him come out through and go to the bench and report his foul. Okay, because that play was going towards him. Okay, it was going away from me, but towards my partner. So in that situation, I'm going to let my partner have the play, primary responsibility, reporting and calling that foul. Okay, give help when required on out of bounds situations, but only when requested to do so by your partner. Again, get into the habit of establishing eye contact. And I'm going to tell the group right now, I don't ever want to see one official calling out of bounds on his line, the one he's responsible for, and have his partner come charging across the floor to say, no, 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 I had it going the other way. Do not do that. That's terrible. Number one, it's the off official. It wasn't his area of responsibility. Number two, it makes you both look like idiots. Okay. So the person that's responsible for the line makes the call for the line. If he needs help, he'll look to his partner. And you'll know when your partner, especially if you talk about it before the game, your partner will say to you, look, if I look over and I raise my eyebrows or shrug my shoulders a little shrug, means I don't know, I need help. Then the partner can just, and you don't make, the partner doesn't have to make a big deal out of this. It can be just as simple as pointing in the direction and keeping that point right in your chest. Just, left or right. And that's all the signal your partner needs, because he makes a call and the play goes on, and probably nobody in the gym is going to be any the wiser that one partner reached out to the other for help. Okay, so give help when it's needed and when it's asked for, but don't be rushing into it when your partner isn't looking for help. Don't try to give it to them. Try to know at all times not only where the ball and all the players are located, but also where your partner is. Always good to know where your partner is, for a couple of reasons. Number one, you need to always maintain you need to be diagonally opposite of each other, so that you make sure you've got the 10 players on the court boxed in between the two of you, so that there's nobody missing. Worst possible thing you can have is to have both officials standing on the same sideline. Because out on the other side, who's going to call it? I mean, I'm shrugging my shoulders here, but nobody can see it because you're both on the same line. So it always pays to know where your partner is. In a fast break situation, especially where the offensive players outnumber those on defense, let the nearest referee make the decision on whether or not to call the foul. Avoid the temptation to make a call when you are 10 meters or more away from the action. So, Team A is attacking the basket. They take a shot, long rebound comes off, goes to Team B. They're headed down the court on a fast break. Trail goes as fast as he can go. Player going for a layup. The defender fouls him, and the new trail, who hasn't even over half yet, blows his whistle and calls a foul. That shouldn't happen, because you can't call that from that far away. Your partner, you got to depend on your partner to call it. And look, sometimes partner might miss it, but trust me, it really looks bad making a call from that far away. Blow your whistle for a foul only when it has an effect on the action. Incidental, marginal conduct should be ignored. This kind of falls under what we talked about in the classroom sessions on Saturday for the new people, around advantage, disadvantage. Sometimes there will be some bumps out there that you gotta flash through your head very quickly. Okay, that was a bump, probably could have been called a foul, but there was no advantage gained. Actually, the guy blew by the bump and had a chance for a layup. Do I call it or not? You got to, in those cases, you got to say, no, it's marginal. I'm going to let it go. Establish your standards early in the game. The game will become easier to control. Rough and over aggressive play must always be penalized. The players will adjust to the way you allow them to play. So you come out, ball, you throw an open tip, you're down the floor once, and there's a pretty tough foul. I mean, the guy gets hit pretty hard. Not dirty, but just it's a hard foul. Down at the other end, same thing happens again. You need to make sure that you're on top of that and you're calling it tight. early. That sends a clear and present message to all players that, look, we're not going to put up that stuff. You're going to do that sort of play. We're going to call it and penalize it early and often. And if there's any of you left to finish the game, well, so be it. But we are not, we're going to call this stuff close. And if you do call it close, you'll have a lot better. Going back to something I had mentioned earlier about game control, you will have much better control if you're calling it close or tighter from the start. You can always ease up a little bit as the game goes along, and if you want to let them off their leash a little bit, and let them play some more. But start out early and get them early, and then work from there. Try to maintain the best possible position and a wide angle of vision between the defensive and offensive players. Be on top of the play, having proper distance, and being stationary when you make the decision, call or no call. We already talked about this in the earlier IoT about getting the best position, getting as wide an angle as possible, and also always being able to see that the space between the defender and the offensive player so that you can officiate the defender's activities. All right, what's next here? All right, the next one's making a call, decision making and communication. Target here is to know how to make the call and being able to immediately communicate the decision verbally and with standard hand signals. So some of the key points for in this area is the technique how to blow the whistle. I imagine some of you are going, "What do you mean, technique to blow the whistle?" Well, there's better ways than others to blow it. A good, strong, short blow, almost spit into the whistle once. And it doesn't have to be, you haven't got to blow it like you're the 5 o'clock freight train coming through, at 4:59 and you're warning everybody in town. Just a short, quick, sharp blow in your whistle and then spit it out. Just spit the whistle out of your mouth because you're going to have to verbally indicate the relevant signals for your decision. So you support your decisions and your hand signals verbally. Okay. So it's a foul. So in this case, the whistle goes, my hand should go straight up with a clenched fist. And verbally, I should be going foul, blue, 5. Offensive foul. We're going in that direction. Okay. So what I did there was I indicated who the foul was on, which team it was on, the nature of the foul, and what the penalty was. Okay. And you're going to see some more of that in the next couple screens down the road. Remember, less is more. And once you state something, the power of the message is stronger with a good short message. So I don't have to be out there with my hand up and giving them a whole story verbally on what happened, right? It's foul, blue, 5. Offensive, going in that direction. All are short, crisp responses, and it verbally, that message is stronger than if I'm going off on some preamble about, a defense didn't get there in time or the offensive player took 3 running steps and crashed into the defender. I mean, you don't have to give a play-by-play of it. You just tell what happened. There will also be a lot of times, and probably just as many of these in a game as making actual calls, is when you're making a no call. So referees are to use official hand signals only. Where a referee is making a decision on a play in a no call situation eventuates, referees are not to demonstrate or use other signals for the no call. This is particularly relevant in such situations where your partner sees an illegal action on the same play due to having a different angle and actually makes a call. So if you see a player goes up to shoot the ball and somebody thinks there's contact, but you thought that the defender got his hand completely on the ball and blocked it, I've seen officials that be going down, didn't make the call, but they're going down the floor, patting on their hand like that, like it's a block. Well, that's not a legal signal. And guess what? You start to do that, and all of a sudden the whistle goes, and your partner's calling a foul. you both look bad. Like one's going to, one's going to get blistered for making the call. You're going to get blistered for not making the call. In that case, you're making both of yourselves look bad. So don't do that. So if you see something that happens in the court and you decide to pass on it, I'm not going to make a call. You make no reaction. You don't, nothing. Okay, so making an out of bounds call, when calling out of bounds play, referees should always support their decision verbally by saying blue ball at the same time as showing the direction. This is very useful if you accidentally point in the wrong direction. And like I'm going to tell you, the older you get, the chances pointing in the wrong direction seem to go up. Right. So if you see the ball go to bounds and you know it's going to be blue ball, you can put your hand up, open hand, and signal the direction it's going in and go blue ball. So the fact that you said blue ball clearly indicates to everybody that it's the blue team's getting it, regardless if you happen to be pointing in the red direction. Okay. So make sure you support it verbally. Try to get the signals right too, because that keeps you from getting in trouble as the game goes along. Making a foul call. It's important to communicate your decision to players and other participants clearly and quickly. In the act of shooting situations, people are eager to know where there will be free throws or not, whether there will be free throws or not. To avoid confusion in these situations, referees should communicate their decision immediately by using appropriate authorized hand signals. So this part is talking about when you make your call on the court. So plays going along, I blow my whistle, my hand goes up to indicate it's a foul. I'm pointing at the players involved, and it should be illegal use of the hands, 2 shots if it's in the act of shooting, or hand up, illegal use of the hands, throw in at the side and point to the sideline. Or if it's foul in the act of shooting, it's hand up, fist clenched, foul, illegal use of the hands, 3 shots. You do that at the point where you make the call. Everybody on the court knows you either got a throw in, you got 2 shots, you got 1 shot, or you got one shot if it was a made basket, 2 shots if foul in the act of shooting 2, 3 if it's a foul in the act of shooting 3. Okay. Also, if it happened to be a foul of an unsportsmanlike nature, you should indicate that as well. That has a different hand signal. I believe it's both hands clenched with fist closed, waving back and forth. Or that might be disqualified. Might be 2 hands straight up, both clenched is unsportsmanlike. Anyway, find the appropriate signal in your rule books and make it if it is an unsportsmanlike foul. Signals and reporting. The target is to identify the different phases and techniques of having a strong and decisive signals as part of the court presence. A checklist for successful use of the signals. Use official and authorized FIBA signals. So in the rule books that you have or have access to online, there is a section in the back that deals with every hand signal you would use. You should read those and become familiar with them. For the new people, for the returning officials, you should read them and reacquaint yourself with all of them. We should try to be as consistent as possible in our zone with using the same consistent signals for each and every call. I think if your calls are crisp and sharp and everybody's using the same ones, if you're supporting them with good verbal support, as in foul blue, illegal use of the hands, we're going to shoot 2. If you're supporting it with that kind of verbal support, you're going to get less and less arguments on what you're calling. You need to establish a rhythm. Each signal has a start and a stop. When you finish the signal, just freeze for a second. Just do a 1-2 count in your mind before you return to play. Okay. So get used to that rhythm. Okay. You've stepped in. You made the call on the court. You're going to the bench. Go to the spot where you need. There's an arc in there in your head where you can go to where you're clear visual look at the bench. You give the clear hand signal. Do it nice and Don't rush it. Just take a breath before you start. Then make the call. Clearly signal what the call is. Verbally support it. Stop. 1-2 count. Turn and go to your next position. Okay. So if it's your next position coming back from reporting is you're going to go to the free throw line, or sorry, you're going to go to the sideline and administer a throw in. You hustle over to that spot, take the ball from your partner, and execute the throw in. If there's free throw shooting, usually your partner will have the ball and will be now resident on the as the trail official on or on the as the lead official on the baseline. You will circle back over and be the official signaling with his hands in the air, whether it's 1 or 2 shots, and do that on the free throws. Okay, strong, sharp, and visible and decisive signals. This can be practiced in front of a mirror, and people may laugh at that, but it works. Uh, One of the hardest things for me when I started out was I could always seem to get my hand up pretty good when I blew my whistle, but the open hand for violations or the closed hands for fist seem to come hard for some reason. And it was actually working on it in front of the mirror actually helped. So that was like foul, and the hand would go up and it would close into a fist. Or that's a travel, hand would go up and it would be an open hand. Use both hands for directions. So don't try to spin yourself into a top by using the same hand to point the direction. So if you're facing the court and the ball's going to the right, use your right hand to point. If it's going to the left, don't spin around, use your right hand, point the other way. Just use your left hand, point that way. Okay. Treat each team, player, and play with the same standard. No histrionics. In other words, each call must be the same, and you need to treat each team and player the same. So, you got some player out there that's kind of run the beak a little bit on some call you made earlier. Don't make your next call on him extra loud. Don't smirk when you make that call. Don't do any of that stuff. You have to be totally impassive. You have to be, totally impartial. Whatever happened before has got to be water under the bridge. So you treat each team, player, and play with the same standard and don't add anything into it. Remember, less is more. No repetition. One clear and strong signal. Okay, so you don't have to signal 4 times. Give them a good strong signal the first time, verbally supported, and move on. And like I said, verbally support the signal at all times. Reporting. Target is to identify the different phases and techniques of having strong and decisive signals as part of court presence. So just going through a quick checklist for successful reporting to the scorers table. So as I indicated earlier, you walk sharply to a spot where you have visual contact with the table. Minimize the distance. Think where is your next position after reporting. So in other words, if you're coming from, if you're to the left of the score bench when a call is made and you've got to report it, and you're going to come back to the left of the score bench, don't run way up to the center line to look at the score bench or past it, because you're wasting time and effort and game time. So you would come out at a 45-degree angle from the score bench to the left side, get far enough out away from the play where you can visually get a clear visual path to the bench. Remember, stop. Both feet side by side on the floor and breathe for a second. You take a breath, get yourself in balance. Then you get into your rhythm. Start, stop, 1, 2. Start, stop, 1, 2. Start, stop, 1, 2. Identify the number, the nature of the foul, and the penalty. Okay, so as we talked before, fouls on foul, number 5, tripping. Penalties, 2 shots. No more, no less. And the nature of the foul must be the same as what really happened in the play. So if at the point of where I made the call on the court and I called the guy for pushing, don't get over the bench and say, well, he tripped him. He didn't trip him. One play he pushed him, the other play you got him as tripping. They've got to be the same. Okay. Verbally support the reporting to the scorers table, right? So when I got to that spot, My hand was up. I pointed in the direction of the team that was getting the foul. I give my hand signal with the number of the foul. I give that right hand signal for the nature of the foul. In other words, I hack across my wrist for illegal use, pulling down on my wrist with the other hand for hold, offensive foul, hands to the hip, or charge or block, either one. I give the appropriate signal, but at each stage, as I'm giving the hand signal, I'm also supporting it verbally. Next one, jump ball, active referee tossing the ball. You need to pay attention to this, even though we only have one jump per game. It's still important to know what are your requirements. The checklist for a successful ball toss. The players are tense. Avoid any extra movements. In other words, when you're stepped in, stay out of that semicircle between the two jumpers until you're ready to throw the ball. Then step in and throw it. Don't step in and nod your head, shrug your shoulders, and dipsy down a little bit. When you step in between them, you're ready to toss it. How you toss it's irrelevant. Be two hands or one hand, doesn't matter. Low or high. I mean, you can start down low if you wish, or you can start up high at your chest with two hands and straight up. You can do it at your chest with one hand straight up. You can do it down at your knees with one hand, throw it straight up. So if the level of the ball to start, the lower the ball is, the longer it has to travel to reach the highest point, and the speed and intensity will depend on where you're starting from. If you're starting lower, you got to be a little faster and more intensive. If you start a little higher, it won't. So main thing is to toss it up straight and try to get it up higher than the two guys can jump. Last one, this one is, back. This was really important. When you step in to throw that ball, do not put your whistle in your mouth. Good chance to lose some teeth, and I've seen it happen. You're throwing the ball, it's up to your partner to blow the whistle, okay? Do not put your whistle in your mouth. Jump ball, the non-active referee, so in other words, the guy that's not tossing it, the checklist for him or her would be as follows. You need to make the decision on whether the toss was a poor one or not. In other words, it was too low, it wasn't straight, timing wasn't right. So your partner threw the ball up, nobody was ready, nobody jumped, and it just fell and hit the floor. Blow your whistle. Partner throws the ball up and it goes right off sideways. Blow your whistle. Partner throws it and only goes like 2 inches above their head. Blow your whistle. You didn't throw it high enough. I know most guys don't like to do that, but look, you got to get it out. You got to get the game started right. Make sure you get the toss right. It's the off official's role is to call a violation if the ball is touched by the jumpers on the way up. So in other words, the two jumpers, when that ball is tossed up, it's got to go to its full height and start back down before it can be tapped. Either one of them taps it on the way up, that's a violation. They didn't let it get to its complete height, and that's the off official's job to blow that down. It's also the off official's job to call the violation if the non-jumpers are not staying outside the circle until the ball is tapped legally by the jumpers. So anybody that's on the circle, they have to stay outside the circle until the ball is legally tapped. The off official also controls the game clock and the shot clock, ensuring they are reset where a violation is called before the ball is legally tapped. So it's his job. The off official will be there. He'll have, as his partner is getting ready to throw the ball, the off official will be over in front of the score bench on the center line with his hand extended in the air, open. And once it's legally tapped, he will chop time in, which means that he will chop his arm down. That signifies to the score clock operator that it's time to start the clock. And he will also watch the shot clock to make sure that if there is a violation, that it is reset as required. He will also ensure that any throw in as a result of a violation by the jumper is placed in the new front court close to the midcourt line. So player A violates player A violates on the jump. The ball is going to go to B, and it's going to be in team B's front court at a spot very close to the midcourt line. And it's the off official job to make sure that's the right spot. He also checks that the alternating possession arrow is set properly after one of the teams has established the first possession of a live ball. So as you can see, the off official has a fair bit of responsibility, even though he's not the one tossing the ball. He's the one that's got to look after all the rest of the stuff. So covering on a shot target is to have full coverage on all acts of shooting situations. 1, 2, 3 technique on shooting situations. Referee, what we talked about before. You referee the defense at all time, right? So you're watching. You need to see the space between them, but you're refereeing the defensive player to make sure that he is not doing anything of an illegal nature to impede that player, offensive player, from shooting or passing the basketball. Check the play in the following order. Check for the hands, the body, and the feet, and whether they have a chance to land. Stay with the play until the shooter is returned to the floor. Okay, so every shooter, when he shoots to jump the ball, jumps to shoot the ball, he has the right to shoot the ball and release it, and he also has the right to land. Okay, so the reason you need to stay with that shooter until he's landed, if he's contacted or pushed or shoved or undercut or anything after the ball has left his hands and you're following the ball to the hoop and you don't see it, you could miss one hell of a foul because you didn't stay with the play until the shooter returned to the floor. Once the shooter does return to the floor, then turn your attention back to the ball and its flight to the basket and any potential rebound situations after. Throw in administration, general and front court inline. So the target is to identify the standard phases and a correct administration procedure for all throw-in situations. Checklist for the general throw-in procedure. As an administrating referee, always designate the throw-in spot. So anytime there is a out of bounds or a travel violation or a 3 in the key violation or 8-second, whatever, always designate the throw-in spot. So you point to the nearest area to where the violation occurred and indicate that's the throw-in spot. Okay, you can use preventative officiating. So you can prevent like violations on throw-ins, for instance, by saying, stay on that spot, stay where you are, or don't move. Don't be afraid to verbally tell them that. Okay. Check the clocks to make sure that while you're getting ready to administer a throw-in, that they're not already running, or that you also need to check the shot clock to make sure it either was reset or wasn't reset, whatever was required by the nature of the play. Make sure your shot clock's in the right order and it's where it should be. Okay. You take and maintain a slight distance from the play. While you're still holding the ball, you put the whistle in your mouth so that when you get ready to give the ball to the player, you're ready to go. You then bounce the ball to the player. So there is no more passing the ball or handing the ball. You bounce it to him carefully. Don't don't make it a hard bounce that he can't catch. That's just one easy bounce right to him and away he goes. As soon as he has control of that basketball, you start your visual count. And it should be a visual. Should be the arm extending out in a second count. So you're counting for the 5 seconds that he has to throw it in. You then observe the throw in and action surrounding it. So you ensure that the throw in is completed in the necessary time. You also have the players in your immediate vision right in front of the thrower in. You're watching to make sure that nobody's been pushed or shoved or anything else out of the way. And then as soon as the ball is touched in the court, you're chopping your hand in to start the clock signal. A lot of stuff going on. Fake a foul. I touched base on this, I believe, in the session that we had on the weekend. It is illegal to fake a foul. And how you manage the situation when it occurs is you warn the player at the site where the fake occurred. You then warn the coach. Any repetitive actions are penalized with technical fouls. Some signs of faking: the faker is looking for contact first because he needs that contact to make the fake. His head goes back and is in a head fake when contact does not occur on the head. He's making theatrical, exaggerated movements. jumping off the spot and landing spot are his jumping off spot and landing spot are very close together. And his feet go up in the air when falling, and hands are already out prepared for the fall. I mean, if he truly got run over and wasn't expecting it, he's probably going to land on his back with no chance to break his fall. If he's faking it, he's not going to let himself get hurt, so his hands are going to be back to protect themselves. So, control the game and the shot clock. Target is to identify the correct techniques on how to control the game and shot clock, identify the most commonplace situation where possible error might occur, identify the correct procedure and methods how to reset the game clock or shot clock. So there's 3 phases to this. I'm not going to go into the details. You need to read through this in the handout that I gave you. But it's learn to control the game clock. So that's knowing when to chop it in. Your hand should go up to stop the clock every time you blow your whistle. You need to get used to doing that. That's something that comes with practice and with game experience. The more you do it, the easier it is to learn. You need to learn to control the game clock whenever there is a new team possession. So when the ball turns over and there's been no stoppage of play and the ball just naturally turns over in the course of the game. So the trail should be taking a quick peek to make sure that the shot clock was reset. There's a new 24-second allowance on the clock. If you can do that, it's going to keep you out of a lot of trouble during the game. There's nothing worse than having to go to the score bench and figure out how to correct the game clock situation or a shot clock situation. Phase 3, you will learn how to control the game and shot clock in the end of the quarter. So there's special circumstances around ends of quarters and end of game. You will need to know, for instance, on a shot at the end of the game, if the ball's still in the shooter's hand when anytime the game clock horn goes to end the period, ball does not count if released and goes in the basket. If it starts out still in his hand. If the shooter releases a shot, the ball has clearly left the shooter's hand, horn goes, ball goes in, the ball counts. Okay? Because the shot was released before the expiration of game time. If the ball is released, the horn goes, and the defender tips the ball becomes dead immediately. If it goes in the basket, it doesn't count because it was touched after the end of the game time. So there's all kinds of different things in there. If you have a throw in at the end of the period or quarter and there's less than 0.1 seconds, if there's 0.1 second on the clock, then the ball cannot be passed in, caught, and shot. It has to be lobbed to the basket, and the offensive player would have to jump and dunk it. Only way it'll count. Because FIBA has determined that 0.1 seconds is not enough time to catch an inbound pass and then turn around and shoot it. Those are all clearly outlined in the rule book as well as in the document that I sent out today. So, we have any questions? Because I believe that that's the end of my presentation, and I'm like probably about 55 minutes earlier than I thought, which was Steve Jones will love because he can get ready for football. But do we have questions? If we don't, I think what I'm going to do, just before I let you go, I'm going to.
P.
Yep.
What's Wednesday night look like? I see that we're in Heartland. Is that something where we should be dressed to do something, or?
Yeah, I'd bring my look. That's Dirk and Jared and Dave, and they're working on the presentation right now. David, do you guys got a preference?
So we're planning to be on court. Everyone should bring whistles and gym attire and sneakers, indoor court sneakers, and prepare to move.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Yep, no problem. And Addison, your camera's on in case you don't know.
Okay, so I'm just going to give me a second here. Yeah, Chris, Dave said that you were going to have to run extra hard too.
I need a lot of extra running, to be honest.
Yeah, well, me too, but that's a story for another day. Somebody else have a question?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
some
Peter.
hands up here, Peter. Caden has his hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not Cadence, it's Dad.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, it's Wade. Peter, I don't know if you saw the NBAABO with that no swearing campaign.
Yes.
So we have to start managing that on the court too.
Yes. And I apologize. I should have brought that up. That was something that we discussed at our AGM. This is not new, Wade. NBIA have done this past 4 or 5 years. They want an emphasis put on no swearing. So we need to enforce that. Look, it's certainly covered within our rules. It's a technical violation for unsportsmanlike conduct. We need to probably warn the team. I would not warn, but I would instruct both coaches that at the onset of the game that, look, we are going to be watching for this. This is something that you need to instruct your players to watch on the court, because it's something that we're not going to warn. We're just going to call. So, and go from there. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because there is one other thing. We had no major rule. There was no rule changes, period, major or minor this year, which is really good, because quite frankly, they usually try to change something every year, but they didn't this year. FIBA didn't. NBIA did change their mercy rule this year, so that anytime in high school, any game at the high school level, one team is in the lead by 40 points or more at the start of the fourth quarter, the game is the remainder of the game is played in straight time. There is no input from either coach on whether they do or do not go in that direction. So if it's a 40 point, it's automatic, it's straight time, and it's none of this stuff. Well, I wanted to play regulation time. It doesn't fly. So they cleared that up, which was kind of a nice thing. It surprised me. So, any other questions?
Patrick has one.
Patrick, what can I do for you?
I know that I was in a group that did not receive whistles last week. How should we?
No, we can't hear you, Patrick, if you're talking.
I think he said something about he was in the group that did not receive whistles. If that's the case, I don't have any more at this point, so I'm going to have to order some, I guess, and I really don't know how long it'll take to get them in.
Okay.
The other issue that we have, and I'll have to talk to Dirk about, is we're going to have to think about the new officials we have. I mean, we don't have a stock of shirts either. I might have one or two, but that would be it. We need to get some shirts in. I'm going to assume that they'd be mostly medium or large for any officials. So I'll reach out to Dirk tomorrow, and we'll figure out what we're going to do. But we'll have to get some in fairly quickly, because we want to get you guys out in the court. Before I guess I just want to show. Mostly this is more for the new people, because I think our older group returning officials would have seen this before, but I'm going to share. It's the okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes,
For
it is.
your
Yes.
okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So this screen. Sorry, I will send a link to this website out to everybody concerned. But this is the provincial website that we maintain for the NBAABO is New Brunswick. It's pretty sad. I don't even know what it means. New Brunswick.
New Brunswick Association of Approved Basketball Officials.
Thank you, Chris. I knew you'd know. That's what it stands for. So any of these on these pages, anywhere where you see NBAABO logo or anything that's underlined, there's links to it. So the first one is the NBAABO information. So there's the executive and board of directors. So you click on that and that will bring you up. Hopefully, yep, here we go. So president, past president, vice president, interpreter, secretary, treasurer. We also have all the zone reps. That's our board of directors. So I think somewhere in my earlier presentation, we talked about, oh yeah, it's in the code of conduct. If there's somebody you see that's doing something you don't think is right, report it to a member of the board of directors. There's the list and there's where you can find it. There's stuff like the different assigners from around the province. Each zone has their own assigner. They do all the games within, they assign the games within that zone. We have a constitution. It's lays out the do's and don'ts, what we can and cannot do. We also have operating procedure. We have a game fee schedule, which I showed you earlier. It's the same. It's the same. It's very exact same things I showed you in our opening session. It's a general minutes from the meetings of the last 20 years worth of AGMs, rule interpretation assistance. That will send you directly, and that's got to be changed. It would send you to the interpreter, but I think it's still linked. Nope, it links to. See what happens here. Okay, you guys can't see it, but it opened up my mail, one of my mail applications in another, in my other screen, and it basically opens it up with the interpreter's email address all filled in. If you want to send them a question, you can send them. NBAABO contact, that's me. There is the rules corner. This one will give you a list of the official rules. This gives you many things such as rule changes in 2022, rules interpretation, 3-person clinics, interpretations from 2021, 2022, rule changes from 2020. I'm not quite sure why we keep them on there, but I guess if somebody wanted to go back and see what changes were made over the years, you can see it. There's a summary of rule changes from 2020. There's the modifications that B&B maintained for U13, U14, and their primary around what is legal defenses and so on. U11, of course, have a number of modifications. They play with 4 players per side instead of 5. They have 10 3-minute segments instead of quarters, and so on. There's an undergarment accessories rule that CBOC have. There's an actual mechanics manual out there if you want to go, and it's a pretty useful tool. It'll walk you through all your basic positioning on the courts and so on. There's a 3-person mechanics for anyone interested in that. There's an advanced one. The IoTs that we went through today are listed there. The introduction to officiating rules, that's the one that you were handed out on the weekend. Introduction to officiating mechanics is another one you might want to consider looking at because it gives you the same thing, gives you the start into it. We have a video library. I'm not quite sure how current these are, but each one of these are, there is a video attached to it. And if you, for instance, see if this works. So it's taken actual, this would have been from the Rio 2016 Olympics. And you can't hear the volume, but if you click on it, there is volume with it. I got my speakers all turned down. So see, okay, there's the whistle, and then it'll back and it'll walk you through it, and it will explain why the call was made as such. So if you look, so basically what's happened there, she lifted her pivot foot before the ball left her hand. So anyway, there's a lot of those in there, and for anybody starting out, I think you'll find it very handy. I think a lot of the returning officials, there's also a good chance to brush the dust off. You can see some of this stuff and kind of get your game back on right quick. There's a link for partners and affiliations. So, we have links to Basketball Canada, Basketball New Brunswick, CBOC, FIBA website. Awnings Whistle Stop Canada is a place where you can buy equipment. NBAABO is direct to their site. MFE Sports. We bought jackets, I think, from them. I wouldn't suggest, you don't want jackets anyway. Officials Choice is another supply place where you can buy shirts, whistles, and that sort of thing. Also, forms. We have some forms here, an observation form. If you have a game incident, something happens, if you need the report, it's here. It's a blank one. You can call up, print it off, and fill in your details. We do some acknowledgments. So we have, the executive for the last 40 years. We've got national assignments, who's worked what games from the province of New Brunswick since 1990 on. Who's won the Wink Willix Award, which is given annually to deserving official within the province. Richie Nicurity scholarship winner, finally 12 assignments from 1993 to on, honorary members, Seward Nielsen scholarship winner, etc. So, and then obviously
Peter.
there's,
We got a question. Mackie's got a question for you.
yes, Mackie, let her rip. I can't see the hands.
Hello, Peter.
Hey, Mackie.
Just have a question regards with the what is the referee schedule looks like. Is there like a website that we need to log in with our username, or how does that work?
You hang on, I'll show you that next. So that's in the gallery. We do have some limited pictures. I know the 50-year service award was Dick Steves. That was presented at a tournament in Moncton. The gentleman in the dark coat, his name is Dick Steves. Dick Steves has refereed all over the world, including the 1992 gold medal men's game that involved the original Dream Team. It would have had Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, and a few of them on it. Dick refereed that game. He's quite accomplished. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that site so you could kind of get an idea what it looked like. We're going to answer Mackie's question next. We use an on-site referee tool. It looks like this right here. Ryzen Web Ref. So any of the new people that were on the session on Saturday, you're not in there yet. You will be added as we determine how many of you will be actually working games. If you're working games, you will have to be added because this is where the games will come from. So give you some idea what it looks like. This is the master schedule. So there's all the games that I have in so far. So through 58 games between now and the 22nd of November. And I haven't even started asking for schedules yet. Okay. So you will get, as the assignments go out, you will get an email or a text message, depending how you set your profile up, that says you have been assigned to, for instance, you have been assigned to this game in Canterbury on Friday, November the 3rd, at 6:30. Will you accept or not? And you have the chance to say yes or no. If you say no, then it comes back to me that assignment's been declined, and I'll reassign it to somebody else. Okay. And one of the things it does is, let's see, I'm going to try something here. I don't know whether this works. So obviously there's been no games assigned, but let me back this up. I'm going to show you some history. This would be my personal schedules. So these are the games that I would have worked last year. So, and you'll be able to look at these as they come up. So I believe that this is, I haven't received yet. So. Whoops. Anyway, there's your game fee. You can see game details if you want. It will show you down here who got what. So I worked that game with Bruce Hendry. It was played at Woodstock High School. It was a U13 game, and there was our game fee. So you'll be able to see all of that. Basically, what happens is you'll see this when it comes up, and you usually get the check yes or no over here if you want to accept the game. Once
Mhm.
you've accepted it, it comes back to me, and I know you've accepted, and I know the game's covered, so we go from there. Mackie, does that
Okay.
answer your question?
Yes. I have, sorry, one more question. So is there like a monthly calendar that you put your availability and then you
Yes.
check them? Okay.
Good que-
Okay.
show you that too. So the availability calendar is right here. So this would be my personal one. Okay. So right now I'm not showing available. Well, we don't have any games in October anyway. So I can jump ahead to November. So I can right now it defaults to nobody's available, which I hate. So let me see recurring availability. If I click here, and I'm gonna go November 1st to 24th.
Wednesday poker night, Peter?
Yes, it is. You guys know me too well. Okay, so just like that, I'm now
Okay.
available. I'm green, right? Now, Mackie, another thing you can do too when you're doing your availability is you can go in individually on an individual day and you can say, okay, I'm available here between. Okay, so you could say, okay, I can work from, let's say it was on 12 noon to, I can be available till like 12 to 4 in the afternoon only, right? So that tells me when I go to look that I, that person, whoever it is, in this case it's me, but that I'm only available for that 4 hour slot in the afternoon, or it could be I'm only available in the morning, I'm only available in the afternoon.
Okay.
You can pick it, you can slice and dice any way you want, but my preference is I like to see all green, right?
Okay.
As you as the sign officer, I like everybody to be all green, and sometimes I've been known to go in and change guys red to green if I'm
Let's
really
see.
desperate.
Hey, Peter, so you're showing the website. It's important too for the everyone to know there's also an app that is on your phone. And what's
Yes.
cool is you can also see your schedule on the run. But what's probably the best feature is if you have notifications set on, it'll actually warn you the day you got a game, so you don't, forget and have an awkward kind of no-show type of thing or be late or whatever. So it does kind of tell you in advance what you got coming up, which is nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, Corey, that's a great point, and because quite frankly, I use the app probably as much or more than I use the desktop, even for assigning games, right? So I mean, I can be sat in a meeting, I can be in a meeting somewhere and get a notice come up that somebody declined a game. If I don't have my laptop, I guess what? I can change it using the phone app, right? So, and Corey's right, you'll get 24 hours ahead of time, you'll get it. You're scheduled to work at this place at this time tomorrow. It's a reminder. It comes right up. So it's really good for stuff like that. So this is, I think, our third year using it. We're pretty happy with it. So we're going to stick with it, I think.
Thank you, Peter.
Any other questions? If not, I'm going to give you back about 35
No, we
minutes of
got
your life.
we got
We
one
have-
more. We got another
Yep.
one here, Peter.
Yep.
Is it Gilman?
Gilman, my old buddy. Gilman's a real quiet guy, so he's probably going to stay on mute, maybe.
Sorry, Peter. I was trying to find it. So, yeah, actually, that's what I wanted to say is that like everything was showing unavailability for me, and I thought maybe you just wanted to give me U11 games, which I understand that because I think you and Dirk are just wanting me to put me in those games, which is probably a little bit more too intense for me. So, but no, honestly, I just wanted to say. That I'm really happy being part of Region 1 since I was in Region 6 for almost 25 years. So I'm looking forward to being with the whole group here, and you know what I mean. We'll have a fun year. Another thing I wanted to say, Peter, is that since I'm the furthest away, I mean, is there a flexibility that I could rather than charging the whole amount of mileage and stuff like that, I could probably be closer to, let's say, Perth Andover and charging those mileages?
We'll work something out, Gil.
Okay.
I'll talk to you. That's a conversation we can have on the side. So.
Okay, perfect. I wasn't sure. Okay, thank you.
Well, listen, if you know, I fully expect that you're going to carry Dirk Bishop most of the year. So, you know, I'm going to have to move you around, and you're going to have to bulk up a little bit. But you know, we'll see what we can do.
As long as you don't have me to fight him. As
Hey,
long as I don't
Gilman,
fight him, we're good to go.
Gilman, we're glad to have you, buddy.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
All we got to do now is break his bad habits that he picked up in Zone 6. Once we do that, we'll have her made.
Well, listen, I mean, to be honest, if it wasn't for Dirk coming up to our tournament in Sugarloaf, I would know nothing because I learned everything from Trevor McNally.
Oh God, I thought you meant Trevor McGuire. That was even worse.
Just teasing, guys. Well, thank you very
Code
much.
of conduct, Peter. Code of conduct.
Oh yeah.
I take that back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Gilman, it is great to have you. It's you've threatened to come over and help us out here for the last 3 or 4 years, so it is great to have you. And look, I'm going to say a little shout out to all the people that were in attendance on Saturday. It was really great to see that many people, and I can't wait to start working with some of you young people. I think you're going to bring some energy to our group. Mackie, it was nice meeting you. I mean, you've got some experience in Saskatchewan, and we can
Same
certainly
here.
use
Thank you.
we can use all the help we can get. So it's I think we're looking at a great season. So all right, with that, I'm gonna close it up, and the next session will be with Dirk, Dave, and Jared on Wednesday night in Heartland at the gym. So enjoy what their presentation. I'm sure it'll be interesting, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot. So I will talk to you guys probably a week from tonight in Centerville. No, Heartland. I'll be there for the session there. So we'll see you then.
Have a good night, guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Pete.
Peter,
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Peter.
Yep. Peter, a quick thing. What day are you going to be home? Friday. All right. I'll be here.
Okay. Oh, any special time, Peter?
No, I'm working from home all day on Friday.
Okay. How about I say sometime in the afternoon?
Yep, that works for me.
Okay, I'll see you then, my friend.
When did you get back?
About the 12th or 13th.
Okay, so you've been back a couple days.
Yeah.
Good trip.
Yep. Yeah. No, it went well.
That's
Good drive. That was the main thing.
That's good. Well,
Anyway,
yeah.
I'll pop in Friday afternoon and see you.
Yep. Good, Bruce.
Okay. Take care, my friend.
See ya.